in memory of, forgive me if I don't do the usual, the sympathy, in deepest sympathy, because I feel that a man like Shadow has lived so long and lived so full that we should really be celebrating rather than worrying about the sad part of it. Let me also take this opportunity. I doubt he's listening, but I have to still to wish my dad, who will be tomorrow going well into the 4 score. They say God gives a man 3 score and 10. And when he got his 3 score and 10, he started saying, well, anything can happen. Well, he's still batting strong. And tomorrow, I think he turns 82 or 83 or some of them 80 numbers there. Daddy, good afternoon. Happy birthday tomorrow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio today with me, I have Dr. Linroy Christian, who I will be speaking to very shortly about the whole issue of pesticide and pesticide awareness. I'm right, Dr. Christian?
Chemicals awareness.
Sorry, so me say pesticide?
It's a chemical.
It's a chemical. All right, I'm going to be speaking to him, but I will mind his business first before we go into the pesticide thing, But just before we do that, we are, of course, celebrating our 37th anniversary of independence. And so I just want to remind folks very quickly of a few activities that are coming up. Tomorrow is the Independence theatrical presentation at Dean William Lake Center, which is always something that is looked forward to. And on that note, let me congratulate, how are you hearing his name walk out my head? That is not good. Owen, congratulations on your masters with distinction. I saw the video. I'm very proud of you, my brother. And on Friday, it's National Heroes Day. There will be the ceremony at 10 a.m. at the National Heroes Park. Saturday, 27th, 8 p.m., Independence Fashion Show. Sunday, of course, is a church service. They're going to the cathedral. Those of you who haven't been yet get an opportunity to look at the resplendent. Monday, one of my favorite events, Princess Margaret Secondary School, PMS School, whichever one you be, just make sure you take back the crown, please. It's the National Junior Panorama Competition. And, and that day also begins the visual arts exhibition at the VC Bird International Airport. We're all invited to go out and view. Over 30 participants will be in that exhibition from the 29th of October to the 4th of November. Tuesday the 30th, National Dress Day and Schools Independence Program. Wednesday the 31st, Town comes alive and a buzz. Youth Rally returns to the ARG for the first time in over 10 years, I think, or more. 8 a.m., National Youth Rally. People in town, don't say you don't know, so you go quarrel when the streets are on the lockdown from the young people marching, because they must march. And oh yes, I was hopeful that we would have seen the return of double decker, Chicky stand double decker, but no, they're not fixing it. So Wednesday the 31st, yes, I said that already. Yes, Thursday the 1st, of course, it's the ceremonial parade. That also will be at the Antigua Recreation Grounds at 7:30 a.m. And then we journey up to the stadium for the food fair. And while we're at the food fair, we shall see West Indies All-Star 11. I think this is women's cricket. No, sorry, I'm missing something. The West Indies All-Star 11 versus the Antiguan West Indies 11. I don't know the details on that one. But then after that, then we will see the ICC T20 cricket match warm-up. I think it's West Indies versus England. We get to see our first. Actually, right now, if you want to see all of the women on show, they're all here and practicing out at the Liberta Cricket Ground. So all the women's cricket team, if you go on the Liberta Sports Club Facebook page, I saw it there earlier today. They have a schedule with all the teams practicing out in Liberta. I think that's an excellent opportunity for, a non-traditional, when we think Antigua here, stadium, ARG, we have Liberta Cricket Club's field. And on Saturday the 3rd of November, there is the premiere of the film Loving Daniela at Caribbean Cinemas at 7:30 p.m. And if you stay tuned with me after this interview, we will be speaking to some of the persons involved in that film. So that's just to give you an overview of our independence celebrations. Antigua and Barbuda, forward together, sorry. All right. So with that out of the way, and I have already mentioned, and of course, how could I forget? The Spring Gardens Moravian Food Fair is Saturday, the 27th of October. That's this Saturday. This Saturday is also Kiwanis one day. I'll be doing another Saturday of community service. And then on Sunday, I am going to my very first Dadly Day Fete, pray for me. I'm going to be in the young people, not dressed like they dress, because I can't fit into them kind of sexy clothes anymore. I don't think I could fit in them before, but you know. So those are some of the activities. And on that note, I then turn to my apologies, Dr. Christian. Dr. Christian, I have to make a confession. I'm going to make a confession on air now. I think I'm older than you, so I can get rid of it. I'm hoping I'm older than you. I don't know. But, Dr. Christian, I just admire anytime I see you walk into a room. You look good, right? That has nothing to do with what we're going to be discussing. Okay. Those of you on radio, he's blushing, and I'm enjoying that very much. All right. Okay, now back to serious business. Today, Dr. Christian is with us in his capacity. He will explain to us shortly. In charge of a lot of things in Antigua and Barbuda as it relates to his not in agriculture, in health.
Well, we're at the laboratory as well as the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Board resides within the Ministry of Agriculture.
Right, that's what I thought, agriculture. And so today, we're going to be delving a bit into the whole issues, all of the issues, relating to the whole chemical abuse. Am I using the right? No, I said abuse first because I think the abuse comes from the awareness comes from the fact that we're not using it properly most often.
A bit of
both.
Yeah.
All right. So first, tell us a bit about yourself, your professional side. That is, I'm not gonna mind your personal business.
Professional side. Well, I am currently the new chairman of the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board. I am also the director of Analytical Services, which is the government's central analytical laboratory. So that's not the medical side. This is
what is that?
That's environmental and food safety related. So we do a lot of testing of the drinking water, bathing beaches. We test for hotels, airline catering, bottled water companies. So
I thought that was CBH.
No, CBH is essentially one of our clients. So we operate in a way that we provide service to all branches of government who require testing. So we provide the regulators with data to do what they need to do. So if a beach needs to close, then we would have the data that would suggest that, hey, the levels are a particular way.
Recall the name of the department again.
Analytical Services.
That's just it, analytical. So this is the Analytical Services Department of Agriculture?
It's in the Chemistry and Food Technology Division. That's the official name, the division.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do the analytical testing, water, soil, food.
Where's your office located?
Price Hill. Dunbar.
That's by Dunbar. Okay, I was just going to say Dunbar's. Okay. So let's say I am at the beach. I'm going to start with that. You just give me that example. And I notice there's strange things leaking into the water from like a nearby. I would report it to whom?
Well, the current state of the legislation would be, if you report it to us, then we could take a sample, we could do the analysis. If an agency has to take an action, then depending on the agency, we would refer the data to the Environment Division or the Central Board of Health for them to take an action. So we're not in the business of regulation. We're in the business of providing a service. So that way we can provide it to the public and the private sector without having any conflicts of interest.
And you mentioned earlier about testing water.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about like bottled water?
Any water. People bring their cistern water all the time. I mean, they want their cistern checked to make sure that it is not horrendous. And by the way, most cistern water is.
What?
The quality of the water is.
Just ease the mic up a bit.
Right. The quality of the water is such that you should monitor it from time to time because it is coming from your roof. It's coming from a source. I think most people would not even treat it for many years. So you should treat it regularly. Most people may boil it at some point before they drink it. Some people, they use chlorine tablets or regular bleach to disinfect it. Those are all good practices. But if it's cistern water, even if you put APA water into your cistern, you have to maintain the level of disinfection, whether it's by chlorine or UV or something like that.
So for persons like, for example, I'm going to use myself as a very bad example. I have been privileged. I have always had APA water. Mm-hmm. It's never brown.
Right.
It's never slow.
Mm-hmm.
So my cistern, the water just sits there.
Right.
I think I might have used it once, maybe.
Right.
So in a situation like that, should I empty the cistern?
No, you just treat it. I mean, if you have a pressure tank that is attached to the cistern, obviously, if you're using a pump, if the water sits in the pressure tank too long without being recirculated,
it rusted the
no,
the
it
pump.
actually smells quite horrible. Because the bacteria, fungus, they start to grow inside the pressure tank. So you have to keep that water moving, or at least flush that pressure tank periodically if you're primarily on APUA water. So the cistern has to be disinfected somewhat regularly. You just can't have water staying stagnant in lines or in compartments like a pressure tank.
So since you are the service provider, who would then be the main point that would be responsible for sharing this kind of information with us?
It will be us. I mean, there are quite a few clients. We do a lot of samples a year. I mean, for this year, we've already done 3,000 samples
of cisterns.
No, not cisterns.
Oh,
water,
okay.
soil, food. We're on various projects as well. We're on a soil fertility and mapping project where we're actually mapping the soil fertility across agricultural areas, where it's not just for commercial purposes, but if you're a farmer and you want to farm in an area, the goal of it is that each reference is a geoposition, so we know satellite imagery where that point is and what the fertility is. So if you want to plant a particular crop, you'll get fertilizer recommendations for that area. So when this project is
and your
finished,
department provides all of that information?
we are providing the testing
services.
And
okay.
so we provide the data to the Ministry of Agriculture, the Department of Agriculture specifically. Their agronomists and research people would then get into the fertilizer recommendations and that. So it's a service that the ministry will be able to offer once we have done all the sampling. And it's done with the government of Morocco, who actually have such a system implemented. So we're essentially replicating that system.
So in other words, we should be able to see a definite improvement in the
soil
outputs,
quality.
the
soil quality. Yeah, the whole issue is to improve soil quality, not just for general purposes.
So you're doing it for agriculture?
Well, anyone. If you're a farmer, private farmer, backyard farmer, anyone.
There are fees attached for the private?
If you're a farmer, we don't charge. The whole thing about encouraging agriculture or farming in general, these are all little incentives you can provide. If you want chemical and fertilizer recommendations, those aren't things you should pay for. Those are things that should be a service provided to you. So as a policy, we don't charge farmers for testing that we do for farming.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. I didn't know all of these great things were going on.
Well, I guess we may fail in the public service part. But I think that's part of why I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased to have you. So I was okay. I jumped over. I'm going back to the water. So, apart from the fact that persons may bring their cistern water, I'm glad to see you're drinking Oasis. Come take the sip. So I know for sure my Oasis water is fine. All right. No,
Let me not support any brand in particular.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not supporting any brand in particular. We provide water so that he can have a sip. You know, I don't want him to be thirsty. And I was just teasing him. But my question is, in terms of the bottled water that we drink, that we purchase, what is the and he shakes his head. And I'm saying that because those who are listening on radio may not be able to see you. But what is the procedure, the testing procedure with that?
No, well, if you're a company, this is an initiative that actually we had actually discussed with the Central Board of Health, where we have to invite the bottled water companies into a forum and essentially indicate to them. Most of them would know already the standards that exist. There is a standard we're working on now to revise, the bottled water standard.
Yes.
It's almost done. There is an existing one. We're basically updating it. And within that, we have to ensure that any product that is sold for human consumption is tested in accordance with whatever specifications that exist. With bottled water, it's
You
pretty
said we
straightforward.
have to ensure that.
Yeah. Because we can enforce it. I mean, we are there to provide a service. We're not an enforcement agency.
So who's the agency that
the
would be
agencies
responsible for that?
who are responsible for enforcement would be agencies like the Central Board of Health and the Environment Division when it comes to environmental matters, but specifically as it relates to the water issue, it would have to be the Central Board of Health. So we've already had this discussion. There are a lot of bottled water companies who would voluntarily bring their samples in, and we test them.
And you give them feedback?
And yeah, they get the results. They know what they're doing. Because the people who, there are a lot of very responsible companies here in Antigua that engage in this business. What we have to look at is that there is a consistency with that, and when it comes to the brands that we import as well, because
I was coming to those.
And there have been issues worldwide when it comes to bottled water. So
as it is now, there's no system that encourages mandatory testing of the water.
There is a voluntary system of compliance, because standards by their very nature are voluntary.
Yes, I was hearing that from the standards.
Bureau of Standards,
yes,
right.
who I want to have.
When they go forward to be put in as technical regulations, they become law. And that is up to the relevant minister to take that forward, to enact it. So if it's a technical regulation, then it becomes law, and then it's mandatory.
Okay. That's very interesting. So what else besides water, which we use regularly? I'm leaving the food for last. What is besides water?
Because we haven't talked about pesticides.
Yeah, we're coming to pesticides. Okay. No, we're getting there. I just want to give them an overview as to what the services are,
of the
and
lab.
Then we will go.
And
yes,
pesticides
right.
is a different entity.
Yep, indeed.
Yeah, even though I'm involved with both.
Right. So that's what I want to just get a quick overview. So besides water, what else would you?
Food.
Food.
We do food testing.
So like when CBH has issues, that'll be
they bring the sample to us.
Okay, but let's say I go to a restaurant or supermarket and I feel that there's an issue with what I'm eating and I have leftovers, I can bring that to you.
Yeah, people have done that. So, and they have gone back to the various entities and have been compensated for what they've gone through.
Okay.
So it's something that has happened from time to time. People may bring samples. It's very rare when someone experiences, not rare, but it's uncommon that, because you've consumed the food, and therefore you may not have enough of it to come back to test it. So you may not be able to link the diarrhea, vomiting, whatever you have, to the product that you've eaten. But in the instances where it has occurred, we have been able to link the food item to a particular pathogenic bacteria, for instance, and they can then take that and go through the remedy process. They can report it to Consumer Affairs. These mechanisms already exist.
Okay, all right, okay, thanks. So we know, I'm very fascinated by that, but we won't get into that anymore. So let us now turn to that matter at hand. Chemicals and pesticides.
Yeah.
What are the main concerns about how we use those in Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, we had a week of activities where we're just bringing general awareness to the work of the institution and what we plan to do going forward with respect to regulating the safe use of chemicals in general. And so
let me rephrase the question. Let me step all the way back. What is the role of the Pesticides Board?
Right. The Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Board is legally mandated to regulate the use of pesticides and toxic chemicals, as the name would imply. It's a board that is established based on members from primarily government institutions. And so you'd have, plant protection, Ministry of Agriculture, headquarters, you have legal representation, pharmacy representation, customs, all play a role in the board. Scientific services, environmental services, that's what makes up the constitution of the board, and health services as well. So the mandate is to really police this issue of chemicals use management. So anything for sale has to be registered. There are regulations that go along with the main act that would really speak to enforcement. And our main focus going forward is really the enforcement aspect. There are things in the law that just quite simply need to be enforced.
For example?
Selling a chemical. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are selling a chemical, you should be duly licensed and properly trained. So we have to ensure that all of the checks and balances. Why do people
need... this is going to sound like a silly question to you, but I think for the purposes of my audience, I have to ask it. why do people need to be licensed to
sell
sell a chemical? Why can't I just import a chemical and sell it?
because we don't know that you know what you're doing. And somebody has to regulate that aspect of things, because people can import any number of things based on what they think and what they feel, but based on what the product actually is and what it's meant to do, because people also mix chemicals, do all manner of foolishness when it comes to the use of a chemical. They may think anecdotally that this works for this and not for that, and so at the end of the day, chemicals, people may, chemicals are safe. The narrative I tend to use is that it's their safe use, but anything that you intake or utilize improperly will have a negative effect, no matter what it is. You take in more than what your body requires of anything, it will have a negative effect. And when we're talking about chemicals that have a specific use under a specific circumstance, you have to ensure that that is the case. And many people I've heard of the major case in the U.S. recently with the Roundup, and how much $280 million awarded to a groundskeeper.
Yeah, getting ready for this, I was like, what?
And those are extreme cases of what an award could be, but that's a civil case. That's not a criminal case. And at the end of the day, it's subject to appeal. But he thought he linked his cancer to his use being a groundskeeper for so many years. So when you look at, who's a groundskeeper here? Who administers chemicals here? And
everybody almost.
Right. What is the effect? And people can tell you anecdotally what they may, or they know someone who would have died from using something. Different people have these types of stories, but is it really something that is true or scientifically proven? It's very difficult, but if something is to be used in a particular way, you'll be best served to use it in the manner in which it was intended. You have to realize that the wholesale use of chemicals in the environment is an unsustainable practice, because you're you're destroying parts of your ecosystem. When last have you seen butterflies around and bees, and you hear about the declining bee population, you hear about it affects, when you're trying to remove an organism from an ecosystem, it has an effect. So we have to be very balanced in our approach, and therefore this is where the responsibility of the board really lies, to ensure that we are doing this. People really doing this in the manner in which they should. And if you're not duly licensed and trained to do it, then we will have to do something about that.
So there is a process. So if I want to go into the business of importing certain types of chemicals,
right,
there is a process that I have to follow.
Well, there are certain chemicals that are within the scope of the law, but then you have drugs, pharmaceuticals that are handled. They are chemicals, yes, but they're handled under other pieces of legislation.
Okay.
But as it relates to agrochemicals and pesticides and some industrial chemicals, those will fall under the purview of the board, as well as what we call precursor chemicals. Chemicals that are, yes, they may be drugs that are used now, like Sudafed, but if you go to the supermarket and buy 10 boxes of Sudafed or a crate of Sudafed, then somebody is likely to show up at your door.
Today? Or that's how it should work?
You wouldn't be able to buy it, because it can go into the making of an illicit drug.
So I can't. So there are limits as to
there
how.
There are limits of certain. If you want to buy 10 drums of sulfuric acid, you can't allow you to do that. People might think, yes, but it can be diverted into an illicit practice. So there are just certain things that are out there that are flagged, that if you were to try to import them, you would not be able to in certain quantities.
I remember hearing some weeks back about someone had imported a mixed container with chemicals and other things.
Yeah, that was something we had done with the drug inspectors, where yes, and a container came in. It had food, it had pharmaceuticals, it had pesticides, it had everything in one container. The food was confiscated and destroyed, and the items were seized, and charges were laid.
Why was it? Was it thus that the chemicals brought in were illegal, or was it that the mix of the container was an issue?
No, well, the person didn't have any license to import what they had in the container. They I think there was a false declaration made as well. All some of the particulars I wasn't brought out to us, but at the end of the day, their work. If you are bringing in a chemical, it also has to be registered. If you don't have the registration for it, then you cannot import it, you the individual.
Oh,
So
okay.
they made the declaration that yes, there was this particular chemical that they had no registration for.
Mm-hmm.
So right then and there, you're outside of the scope of you're outside of what you should be doing. So there were several, there were so many potential violations. It was
Okay, all right.
but it's so like I said, it was the pharmaceuticals, it was us, it was health. So there's
They
several.
basically got
agencies.
everybody after them at once.
No, well, we have to, and that is how we.
But I think that's a good thing, though.
Well, this is how we're looking to work, and I
Mhm.
think we've demonstrated that already. And during our week of activities, we had a forum with the various departments that would be our partners in this. We certainly can't do it alone as an agency, and of course, the general public. I think each person is a potential inspector themselves, because if you're your own advocate as a consumer, this is what will eventually stop certain practices.
So, as a consumer or as everyday John Doe or Jane Doe, what are some of the things I should be on the lookout for in terms of the whole issue of chemicals and the use and the misuse and so on?
Right. Well, I think one of the things, anybody can essentially purchase a chemical, and I think that is something that we have to look at. When you go into a store, there's just certain highly hazardous pesticides that an average person should not be able to purchase.
For example?
Diazinon and some of the others that might be there.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, if you're going in to purchase quantities of an agrochemical, are you a farmer? Why? What is your business?
Why do you need all of this?
Yes, and I think we have to ensure that in some jurisdictions in our region, you can't even go and buy 7 just like that, in a store. So
Okay.
we have to really look at what level of management are we going to place on this. I mean, if you're a farmer, you're duly registered as a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have certain latitude when it comes to chemicals. If
Mhm.
you're an operator, you have
Mhm.
certain things you can import.
Mhm.
The average householder there will be limits imposed, because we just cannot have
Free for all.
anyone selling certain types of chemicals. Also, buying chemicals in an unlabeled container or buying a pesticide in an unlabeled container. This happens as well. You can buy rat poison in a clear plastic bag.
That's the little pink.
Some
There's
pink,
a little
blue,
pink
the
one. Okay.
blocks, and then there's
So those
but there's
aren't-
also like this 3 steps business, which a lot of people use, but it's actually banned. It's actually a prohibited.
It's banned
substance.
where?
In Antigua. It's right there in the law. It's a prohibited.
So how
substance.
does it get into
It's
Antigua in
smuggled.
sufficient quantities?
Smuggled. That's why the charges were
Okay.
laid against that
That-
person and
okay.
another person, because there was another investigation done and charges were laid against another person because they possessed this substance. So it's banned. It's not a question of whether it's registered or not. No
Mhm.
one will be granted any registration for that product because it's being smuggled into the country.
Okay.
So any container, and the discussion with customs is any container, we have to have that discussion where any container coming from that particular country will be inspected.
Oh, okay.
Any and all.
So what about the other bait products? Or I guess you call them chemicals that for rats and roaches and so on. How does the public know what they can legally buy?
No, well,
And
if
in
it's
what
in a store,
dosage?
if it's in a store for sale as it is now, then you would assume that it is
No.
fine. So the average householder is not the person to necessarily worry that I'm purchasing something illegal if I go to a legitimate business.
Agreed, but
right?
the average householder also would buy those same yellow, pink and blue rat bait because they want to get rid of the rats in the home.
Yeah, well, some of those are not banned substances. So
Okay.
it is a question whether it's registered or unregistered, but the person who has to worry about it is the business selling it.
That is true.
So if they're an operator and they're selling something that is unregistered, then it's not lawful. So we have to look at the issue of registration, the issue of whether you are licensed to even sell
Okay.
a product like that,
Okay.
and whether or not
Okay.
the product is prohibited. These are all to be considered under the Act. So when you're inspected, these are the things that will be looked at. Some of the things.
Your week of activities, what is the general feedback from yourself as chair and the board?
I think the response has been quite good. I think Facebook, we had boosted posts that went out. I think the statistics on it would be we reached about 20,000 people.
That's good.
And then there was the radio, newspaper, television. So I think and based on the calls that we've gotten since, I think, there's been a pretty good response to what was done. I think we have to now maintain that momentum and really look at the business of just doing the job. You know?
I like that.
So we will have a sustained communications plan over the next year. We have various things that will be coming forward, different people who will be spreading the message, put it up a website. All of these things we'll have to do, improve the business part of it, the customer service side, because we do provide a service when people come.
That is true.
They expect a service. So we have a registrar who is in place. We have clerks. So it's just a matter of that customer service aspect that, because in Antigua, I don't think we believe in it, but in customer service too much. But within, my organization, certainly, both of them, we really think that is quite important.
It is very, very important. There are things like bop and bacon and those and so on. Are those considered chemicals?
Yeah, they are chemicals. I mean, we use quite a bit of those things, actually. I think we have to really look at, as an individual, what the impact is on us.
On us.
Yeah.
So
because you're spraying it and you're staying in the room to breathe it in. I mean,
yes,
that's,
unfortunately.
So you have to really look at your management of something like that as an individual and try to use these things when absolutely necessary. Based on the statistics, we use quite a bit of it compared to what we do for agrochemicals.
So how do we start that conversation that reminds our people that, these things that we use in moderation? Because there are people that thread every night and lock up the house every night.
There are people who like to use it. There are people who have said to me, they like to use it. I think it's people are protecting themselves, and you have to understand that. And they have to look at it in that context. You have to also look at your body burden with respect to chemicals. Yes, you're using that, and then you're using something else on your skin. You're using something else, because don't get me started on the bleaching cream. And then you use many different chemicals, whether you're using antibiotics, whether you're using any other pharmaceutical. So then what you breathe in just normally from car exhaust, from whatever. So your body burden of chemicals is what you have to consider. So any opportunity you have to eliminate certain things from your daily environment, because think of a process you're doing on a day that doesn't involve the use of a chemical. So we have a dependence. There are a lot of safe circumstances where you can use a chemical, but from the mosquito control, then maybe you should do what the Department of Health says: reduce the amount of water on your property, so that mosquitoes don't breed.
Right.
So so if everybody starts to look at that and the treatment of the waterways to reduce mosquito larvae, and so we will then lessen our dependence on chemicals to control mosquitoes. So there's a personal responsibility that we all have to take in this. It can't be just the Ministry of Health that this is vested in completely. Each person has a responsibility to themselves and to others to ensure that they adhere to certain good practices, and that way we will eliminate certain things that will be harmful to us at a later stage in life. It may not affect you now, but a few years down the line, it may become more apparent.
So back to that's a very, very, very truthful statement. I don't think enough of us think that through, that what we're doing to ourselves now will come back to haunt us somewhere down the road when we least expect it. Most people think they're going to go into their ripe old age and be right. But going back to the issue of enforcement, because you mentioned enforcement as being now where you're heading. To my mind, and of course I stand corrected because you just concluded Pesticides Week, are you going to take time to educate the public as much as you can before you do the enforcement, or you're going to marry them together?
No, it's a bit of both. I mean, we're not just coming down on people to say, well, no. We're actually trying to encourage. So the businesses that currently operate pesticides, we're bringing them along to a state of compliance.
And how has that going?
I mean, the response has been, I mean, the
I'm
people
impressed.
who operate legitimate businesses want this thing legitimized. Because at the end of the day, for the people who operate an illegitimate business, it is affecting the business of legitimate
That's
business
true.
owners. So
That's
there are
true.
people
That's
who
true.
pay their fees, pay their registration, run their operations, and then you can just come in, get a backpack spray, and decide
Let's
you're
go.
going to. Yeah, so there's
True.
so, and then that has an effect. So we want, if you're operating this business, you must be responsible. You must have a measure of accountability, and this is what we're trying. So it's not just a coming down. There is
Fair
there's a progression to this that we have already implemented. So we should see a difference in a few months, and we have short-term, medium, long-term goals that we wish to accomplish. And these have been mapped out, and it's just a matter, like I said, it's just about doing the job.
Okay, that sounds good. What about addressing our youth and bringing
Well,
them up to speed on?
That's where the education comes in. I think the earlier you look to shape a practice, the better it is that it becomes ingrained in someone. So I think, as it is with other concepts like recycling and littering, I mean, those are things those are changes in attitude, and therefore you have to start as young as possible so that this becomes a part of someone. So we have to ensure that going into the schools, all of that would be a part of the communications package. We're looking at the issue of poisoning and poison control, and providing this, because a lot of, if you look at other countries, other institutions that deal with this, they have a lot of infographics on how to protect children from.
That is correct.
If you have a chemical, don't decant it into another container, because someone could consume it, especially a child. So that's the type of messaging that will go forward. And like I said, a website is going to be a key to all of this, where people can actually come and have
And resources to read, access.
Facebook. I mean, those are the things that will reach the younger audience as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This is the space we live in now. So if you want to reach people,
You have to go to where they are.
You have to the traditional ways of doing so. Well, what we consider tradition, but soon from now, social media will be tradition. So
It'll be
it
the only
already
thing we
is.
know. Yes.
Yeah, in a for a particular generation. So we have to really look at all ways of reaching people and going the space of encouraging. When I say enforcement, yes, there is a law, but we have to really look at encouraging and changing mindsets. Yeah, that is really what will make the most impact. Not trying to fine and that sort of thing. We have to really change the mindset. So that is a very strong part of what we wish to do, but we have to be mindful that we have something to enforce.
You speak of mindset, and another thing that I have observed getting ready for this afternoon was that persons storing items at home.
Yeah.
I had this conversation on the weekend, and there are lots of persons who didn't seem to pay any keen attention in terms of separation of how they store things. For example, you might store the food at the top half of the cupboard, but then you have chemicals and chemical related stuff in the bottom half in the same space. Is that a good thing? How does one learn how to separate properly? And are there some chemicals that should just not be in the home at all?
Precisely. I think you have to. We're not just talking about detergents and disinfectants.
No.
We're talking about anything that is particularly agrochemical, like a pesticide.
Right.
You don't store that in a cupboard with food. That's just a no-no. I mean, if you're going to store that, you secure it that children don't have access to it. So you have to be very mindful about how you use those types of chemicals. It's like any pharmaceutical as well. You don't store your medication where a child could reach it. So, but when it comes to some of these other chemicals, storing them with food is just a fundamentally bad idea. So we're not just talking about dish liquid and things like that.
No, I'm talking about the heavy, because there are people who, we could go back to maybe some of those very illegal
Yeah, some of these chemicals, like the rat poison.
Right, that was the one I was going to say.
3 steps. I mean, when the confiscations were made, the seizures, they were being sold. This item was being sold in areas where food was being prepared and sold. So, because of course it's an illicit practice, so people are just selling. They're making a living to them, but there's a potential hazard that they're exposing people to that the person who is doing business with them would not necessarily be aware of. And then there are others who might be aware, but they don't make the connection. All it takes is one accident. It might not, 1,000 times you sell this thing, it may be one
fine,
time.
and then the one
but
time.
that one time could lead to the death of someone. That's just how this particular poison works. It just one time, one child, and then there'll be a big public outcry, and everybody will be stating the obvious. But so this is where we just have to make sure that this is our job, to make sure that we are safeguarding people, and the hard job just has to be done. And people who are upset, well, they'll be upset for a while, but they'll get over it.
Are there any dangerous mixes of regular household chemicals? I'll give you an example. I don't know if this is a good one. Growing up, my mother used to mix the ammonia and the Clorox to clean the yard. So she'll just throw them down to clean the yard. And that is I can tell you, to today, just across the road, that's a very popular mix to clean their walkway.
No. You certainly don't do that. You shouldn't do it, and you certainly don't do it indoors.
No, not indoors. They'll do it like in the yard.
Yeah, but it's not you create ammonium chloride. Yeah, that's not a.
I think that's one that I don't know in terms of your public awareness.
You see the fumes coming up. You breathe that in, and trust me, it will choke you. That's not. It's not a good practice. But there are those who would mix agrochemicals. So they think this one works one way and another. So they mix the two together
to get the effect.
So what they think is an effect. So, and then there's the whole idea of, like you're saying, why would we police certain things? No, there's some people who may not know the difference between an ounce and a pint or a quart. Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to realize that the concept of measurement, you may buy something that from a particular supplier, it's in metric. You may buy it from another supplier, it's in imperial.
I agree.
And then you have the US system where they talk about quart and pint and that sort of thing. And then, okay, what's the difference between a liter and a pint and a quart? And then, you just sort of mix whatever. So you have to, or you may have different products of a different system of measurement. So you have to be mindful of all of these things. When you're purchasing an item, the mixing instructions, you have to pay attention. If it calls for ounces in a gallon or it calls for milliliters in a liter, makes a big difference to someone, because you're talking about a metric system versus so it's those are all
it sounds like a huge education task.
No, well, I think also I don't think it's a job. I think it's not an impossible job. I think it's something that just has to be repetitive. It's something that we just have to be consistent about. And I think people will come around. I don't think people are far off. I think a lot of people know fundamentally what is not correct. They may not always adhere to it, but I don't see people being resistant to what it is that we have to say. And so far, that has not been my experience, because if you relate it to everyday things that people do, they're like, oh yeah, I might do that. I might not think it's particularly dangerous, but So
provide us with one or two more of those everyday examples, if you can think of any. No.
Everyday, well, we covered
I did the Clorox ammonia
one. I mean, we did the
there was another one
in unlabeled packages, like people repackage chemicals. You shouldn't purchase repackaged chemicals. Repackaging of chemicals is not lawful either. So if there's a business out there that they buy it in bulk and then start to repackage it, that's actually unlawful. Because then...
But there is scope for you to do this legally, I'm assuming. You can bring in a bulk chemicals and then repackage,
no? You can't repackage like that,
No.
Because what are you repackaging to? Do you have the proper
within the
license?
bright guidelines.
Right, but somebody will just repackage it into a clear plastic bottle. So what are the mixing instructions? What would be the safety procedures, all of these are on the original container.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start to repackage it, you lose the
You
essence
move that
of-
information.
yeah.
Yes.
So this issue of repackaging, we would have to handle at the level of the supplier.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So if there is any key thing that you'd want the listening audience to become aware of as it relates to the whole issue of the use of pesticides and chemicals and so on, what would that key thing that you'd want to leave in the mind of the public?
I just be mindful and be responsible. At the end of the day, the safe use of chemicals is what we really focused on during our week of activities. That safe use, that responsible use, because each person has that responsibility to themselves and also to their neighbor, so to speak, where any mismanagement on your part just doesn't affect you in a lot of
Affects the
instances.
community.
It affects everyone, and sometimes these chemicals are quite persistent. They affect you for the better part of your life. So you have to be very careful, and this issue of safety is in the safe use. And if you need advice, the institution is there to get the appropriate advice. You have things to refer. We are there to provide this. There's an office with a registrar. So any complaints, any clarifications, this is within the office. So
Okay.
there will be more to hear on this over the course of time, because we do have certain things.
Well, I was just about to ask that. What are the next steps?
Yeah, there will be press releases. There will be various forms of communication to the public, to the policymakers as well, because we also have to make sure that those in a position to set the policy also understand the job that we have to do. So the education is just not at the level of the person, the individual as a citizen. It's actually at the level of the political directorate, who also have to grasp this issue, because they play, of course, a quite significant role
Yes.
in us doing what we are supposed to be doing. So, it's really education for all when you think about it.
So my final question, because we are just on the cusp of our time, and let me thank you very much for coming. And ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Dr. Linroy Christian. He is the chairman of I did not write it down. That is not good. The Pesticides and Toxic
Chemicals Board.
Oh, it's right here. Pesticide and Toxic Chemicals Board. I wrote too much notes while you were talking, so I couldn't find it. And we have just, I wanted to ask you, in wrapping up, about our beaches. So who is responsible for, as soon as I wrap it, who is responsible for the monitoring of what goes into our I know you're the agency that will do the testing, but apart from citizens seeing what is something going into the beaches, are there any systems in place that monitors what goes into our beach?
Well, I mean, the agencies that, from the DCA to the Central Board of Health Environment Division, those would be the agencies that would be collaborating on any such issue, whether it's a sewage plant installation, what should go into an environmental impact assessment before the property goes down.
No, I'm not talking about that part. We know that's done. So let's say today, is there any agency that would say, okay, today let's get up and go and check 5 beaches and see if there's any?
But we already do. That's what so we already have a program for that.
Oh, so you do that?
Yeah. So
that's what I wanted to know.
No, what
Okay.
we do is we get together with the Central Board of Health. If we look at the beaches, for instance, where the island is segmented into 6 segments, coastline.
Okay.
And there are 2 separate monitoring programs that are currently ongoing. One with the Environment Division, where we look at certain parameters for coastal marine water quality.
Okay.
And then on top of that monitoring program, we have a health-based monitoring program with the Central Board of Health. And then the 2 coincide in certain areas, like the National Parks area, which would be Dockyard and Falmouth Harbour.
Yes.
We then do an intensive monitoring in there. So we would start Dickinson Bay, essentially. Dickinson Bay going down to Fort James. That's a sector. So that sector is done 4 consecutive weeks.
Okay.
Right? average the data, all of that is reported to the Central Board of Health. Then we move along and we go around to Deep Bay, Hawksbill, go around to Fries, going around Jolly Beach area. That's a sector. Then you go now the eastern side where there are no hotels. So we're really monitoring a lot of beaches where you have properties.
Yes.
And
to
seeing what
make
the
sure
impact
that-
is.
right.
And then there's some that don't that you can have as a reference point. So that goes around every single month. So we have
So we
lot of
know,
data.
so there is data that speaks to the quality of the beaches
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Not
if
the general public, what I want us to get to what point I think we have to get to with the regulatory agencies that we have like a coastal report that goes around maybe every 2 to 5 years. Because, for instance, in the EPA, the U.S., for instance, they would publish a coastal conditioning survey
Right.
every 5 years.
Mhm.
So they monitor for 2 years, they do the analysis for another year or two, then they plan for the next one, and then they execute the monitoring. By that time, they produce a report, edit the report. It's now there. So it's somewhat of a retrospective.
and we have the capacity to do
Oh, yeah.
something similar.
Of course. I mean, the data is there. My thing is we need to use the data in a responsible way, but based on our environmental conditions. I think the data is quite favorable. We have to ensure now that we keep it
Maintain
that way.
it.
And when in the context of Barbuda and other places that are considered quite pristine from an environmental perspective, that we get enough baseline data so that if anything changes, we know where the impact is coming from and you're able to head the problem off before it gets too bad. So the data that we collect on a monthly basis actually is going to inform decisions. So if a property goes down on a beach where it wasn't a property before, the characteristics start to change, you will then know that the impact is likely coming from what was put down. So we have what I would consider to be pretty good baseline data. We do this for a number of years. You're able to then really look at data for many years. You can spot trends and analyze
okay.
trends
and see how the ecology and environment has been changing over time.
Precisely. So you know if there's a coral reef impact, characterizing it, because land-based sources of pollution are a big deal. We are literally destroying the Caribbean Sea every day, and I think all the countries recognize it. And sewage pollution.
But can we do something about it?
Absolutely, it's a developmental issue. There's always something that can be done. Do you have the will to do it? Is a different question.
Oh, so that's the question I should have asked.
Well,
Noted.
that doesn't go to
That
me.
is not for you, of
Yeah,
course. That
that's
you are
above
just
my-
the date. You gather the information and you
That's
pass it
above
on. And
my-
yes, I
that's above my
understand.
pay grade.
I understand completely. Well, it's been a most interesting discussion.
Yeah.
You have vacancies?
At the lab?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
What
mean,
what kind of skill sets do persons need to get into your kind of
start
profession?
a first degree in biology or chemistry. We can have a discussion.
Okay. All
But there are
right.
a lot of young people who have applied recently, so we're hoping to really utilize, because some of these people, because we have a mandate that has to expand. We have a lot of other work that we need to do, DNA analysis, other things that we have the capability to do, but the physical infrastructure is a bit of an impediment.
Oh, I was
but
just about to ask about that.
but we have various projects. We are working. We're not focusing on what we cannot do. We're actually focusing on what we can do. And
This is
there's a
good.
lot that we can do. We have a lot of very qualified people and people coming every day that every year from university. And we have a strong internship program. So we encourage students who come back during the summer, spend some time with us, and you get the practical experience of what a lab should be. And so we do have between 4 and 5 interns during the summer. And we have a project coming up. We'll be doing it with schools. And one of the schools that I'm particularly pleased that we're doing this with is the Princess Margaret School, which is my old school. But yeah, so we have a
I'm sorry, every time I hear PM, I go.
yeah, well. So we have that adaptation fund project that we will be getting across to the public the importance of data gathering and monitoring of land-based sources of pollution.
That is excellent.
So, and exposing the students to this at a stage where they're getting into doing SBAs, and they have to understand the link between the science of it and the practical application of
that
science.
is critical.
Because there is theoretical science, there's also applied science. So we're in the more applied science side. But
you have to get the foundation.
Absolutely. So we're looking at expanding our mandate to deal with a lot of genetically modified foods. We have equipment that can detect these things already, but we have to do some renovations to the physical infrastructure to make sure we have an ultra clean environment that doesn't introduce any DNA contamination. But we have a $23,000 piece of equipment sitting down that we need to use. And that's not an expensive piece of equipment, and as far as lab equipment goes, but it's a significant piece of equipment that
we need to get into.
Use, and you can use it for detecting the pathogens in snails, for instance, that people might be worried about, what is affecting the coconut palm, and all of these things that it might be easier to do a DNA analysis for.
And we can do it right here.
The equipment exists. All of us have training in molecular biology.
So it's just to get it operational?
We just got to get it going.
So we need a building?
We have a building. We just need a nice setting.
All right.
But but there are things that we're working on. I think the ministry is very much aware. We have a minister who is very much supportive of what we do. So we're hoping that this comes to some tangible outputs that we can then improve our service.
I am looking forward. You have been a wealth of information and treasure trove. I mean, in addition to our main focus, which was chemicals and pesticides.
Sure.
Also in terms of the general purpose of the
work program.
Yes, and analytics services department.
Analytical services.
Is it analytical? Analytics, sorry. Analytical services department in the chemistry and food technology division of the Ministry of Agriculture. So I want to thank you very much for coming with us today. It's been most interesting, and I wish your department much success, especially with the awareness, because there's a lot of information there. I'm interested in the beach because I hear the discussion over the beach and the pollution and environment, and you always got the sense that we were still grappling with information, when in fact we are on top of the information.
It's a matter of the agencies who are collaborating, and we have a pretty strong collaboration between the Ministry of Health, CBH, and
it's not a collaboration now. It's a matter of the policies now.
No, I think we're pretty. I think it's a matter of now working out what is the necessary action, how we can take these actions, how we can change mindsets of how things. And from a development side, looking at the cost of development
and the balance.
And responsibly developing. And I think the responsible development side is what we have to really think about. Yes, you can develop, you can do it quite responsibly as well. Other countries have done it. We just need to make sure that we do it as well.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Christian. Have a good afternoon, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We had our first guest this afternoon, Dr. Christian. He was a treasure trove of information, and I hope you garnered a lot from our discussion. And I look forward to having another discussion with him another time, as it relates to ads, as it relates to matters, the YouTube video. All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Christian. All the best. We'll be in touch.
Sure.
All right. And as we await our next guest, I indicated earlier on in our conversation that we are going to be having the premiere of a film, Loving Daniela. Hello, good afternoon, come right in. Jupiter, which other camera? This one or this one? Which chair?
Any chair.
It doesn't matter? It doesn't matter?
Chair
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, please. I indicated earlier that we will be having on our independent schedule of events for the 37th anniversary the premiere of the film Loving Daniela. And I am pleased to have in studio with me, I'm not going to break out into singing, I promise. I'm pleased to have, I'm sorry, he is one of my favorite artists. He has no clue. But every time I see him, I'm ready to sing. Of course, I can't do it as well as he does. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm gibbering and jabbering because one of my favorite stars in the studio. And y'all know I don't do that regularly. But, ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying earlier, and let me welcome my guests this afternoon. in studios with me. Lady, gentlemen, welcome to We're the Ones on Point FM. And this program, just to give you a little feedback, it's where we discuss a range of issues that are impacting our community on Antigua and Barbuda and life internationally. We take any issue, any myriad of issues, and we delve into it, and we have a good conversation. And it's not a calling show, just so you know. So we get to do it pretty much structured or go where we want to go along the path. But it normally generates Facebook feedback. They're already saying hello. So with me in the studios this afternoon, I know for sure, is Mr. Omar Mathrin. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you. How are you?
Oh, hear that voice? Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. Okay. And ma'am, good afternoon and welcome to the studios. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
I am Vanessa Shepherd.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Yes, go again. I'm sorry.
I am Vanessa Shepherd.
Let her pull up the mic for me a bit, Jupiter, please. Oh, Vanessa and I spoke earlier today. Yes. No, not today. Yesterday. Yes. And Vanessa is... Okay, so let me go. Tell us a bit about the movie, Loving Daniela.
Okay. First of all, I am the project coordinator here in Antigua for the movie. I played a small role in the movie as the storekeeper because the person that was supposed to do that role, she took ill at the last minute, and I had to step in, and I didn't want to, honestly, but I was actually the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this 27-year-old lady. However, she has a child of a mind of an 8-year-old child. Yes.
Okay.
And she lives with her father. Then they have this young man that came along. He loved her, and they're trying to tell him that she's sick and stuff. But he still loved her. However, they got married, and after they got married,
okay,
they were taking her to see different doctors to see, exactly what was wrong with her, see if they can help her.
Mm-hmm.
So she has seen a doctor in Nigeria, and that doctor didn't help her. So she was seen by another doctor in Las Vegas. However, that doctor could not help her, but what he did was recommend her to go to Antigua and see this special doctor. So that's how Antigua played a role. So she came to Antigua and she met with the doctor, and the doctor suggests that we have all these beautiful beaches and stuff.
How did I know you were going to say that? I just knew that was going to be the therapy.
Yes,
but guess what? I've actually pulled up the trailer.
Right.
And so for our viewing audience, I'm going to share it just now. And for those of you via radio, you will hear the trailer. So we will just share the trailer.
Sure.
For a second. Loving Daniela.
Daniela is sick. She has a mental disorder that makes her behave like a child. Yes.
Morning, Dr. Jones.
Hi, Brittany. Morning. I had a conversation with Daniela's aunt this morning. She's not suicidal. It's not good.
So we are really pushing for a Clarify, and we believe all of your patients will see positive impact from it.
But there is this renowned psychiatrist in Antigua who came highly recommended. So Ella is having some sessions with him.
How are you two, ladies?
How are you doing?
Tastes good? You like it?
Yes. Can I try?
Yeah?
Yeah, we're going, big boss.
Fine, thank you. How are you,
Everything
buddy?
good?
Yeah.
Yes.
You sure coconut today?
Yes, please, yeah.
Give me 1 minute, I'll be ready for you.
I've gone out like a few times, but I can't really say if we're dating or not. But I really enjoyed spending time with him.
Well, by the time I'm done with you on this island, you're gonna forget all about him.
So it's true.
So it's true. Winston, really? Really? On the beach? In public? You're making a fool of yourself!
Who is she?
What are you doing here?
Who is she, Winston?
What are you doing here?
What do you mean, what am I doing here? I've still got a ring on my finger, remember?
We are done.
We are done?
It's
You
over
see that?
between us.
Oh,
know
it's
that.
over between us,
It's
is it?
over.
We are supposed to be working through our problems,
She is none
Winston.
of your business.
She is none of my business.
We're done.
You are embarrassing me on this island.
You know what? I can't
You
deal
are
with
making me embarrassed
I
to be
cannot
your wife.
deal with you.
What
okay?
cannot deal with me?
I'm done.
You better deal with
Leave
me.
me alone.
You have to deal
Leave
with
me
me,
alone.
Winston. You haven't
Leave
got a
me alone.
choice. Leave you alone. Let me into this house. Let me into this house. Did you hear me?
Daniela, wait. Daniela, slow down. Please. Okay, I'll be fine.
Daniela, your father is not going to like this, you know.
I'll be fine. I'm taking my medication, and the doctor said that if I take my medication as prescribed, that I'll be fine. Please. I don't know why I came all the way here. I just want to be an adult for once. Please. Thank you. Love you.
Because I want to see the rest of it, but I don't want my audience to think, especially those via radio that's not seeing the action I'm seeing, to be too lost in you know where we are. But it looks very, very interesting. So I'm curious about a few things though, based on what I've seen so far. Oma, what problem you gonna get yourself in again? you're not weary. Sorry, Winston. Winston, you're not weary. Huh? What problems you gonna get yourself in now, boss? Huh?
What can I say?
Huh?
My heart fell.
So tell me about I see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Antiguans that were a part of the movie.
That's
in terms
correct.
of actors, actresses. Did we have any other roles, like in terms of the cinematography and filming and all of that?
No.
Okay, all right. Why Antigua though? Do you know?
Because the main executive producer of the movie is actually a frequent visitor to the island.
Oh.
So, and he's actually born in Nigeria, but he left Nigeria when he was 16, living in the U.S. for quite a number of years. So back and forth from Antigua, he's always Antigua is his second home.
That's the executive producer?
Yes,
Okay.
Akin Collad.
I wasn't going to try. Akin? That is not Akin. That has to be Akin
I
Daly.
call him by his short name.
Oh, okay. I'm wondering. I was like,
Akende.
Okay, there you go. Akende Collad.
Yes.
All right. I wasn't going to say it. Thank you very much. All right. So that's the executive producer who
Right.
said he.
So he has been back and forth. Sometimes he's here like 3 times a year.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So
nice. He owns a home
was-
here, or he just.
Pardon?
He owns a home here, or he
No.
just picks one
He
of our
loves
lodge.
Tambrin Hill.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
Tambrin Hill is in the
hence
movie.
why
All
that's
right,
correct.
okay, all right.
Yes.
So it's basically an African movie and like African origin, African
It's
themes.
done in 3 continents. Africa is done in Las Vegas and in Antigua.
Oh, okay. All right, I like that. So, what is the plan? I see in the notes that I got, it said that the company also made a gift to the government. I guess it's a video. Yes,
Yes,
to be
they
used.
did a
Mhm.
video ad of Antigua, of all the historical sites and some of the excursions.
Okay, I'd love to see that. I'm curious about that one. So, tell us what happens with this film in a few days. What can we expect?
In a few days, on the 3rd of November, we're going to have our premiere of Loving Daniela.
Mhm.
It's going to be at the Caribbean Cinemas.
Mhm.
It's invitation, plus we'll be selling tickets for those who want to have the red carpet event, because it's going to be a red carpet event. It's going to be Hollywood in Antigua.
Okay.
Though we are small, we can produce big things as well. So we're going to have a red carpet event. We're expecting our guests to start to arrive between 6:30, the cocktail kickoff. We have interviews and picture taking, on the red carpet with the cast.
The gala scene.
Yes.
Right.
Then we'll have like just a mini little program, maybe a 15-minute program before the movie starts, like to have remarks from the Minister of Culture. You're going to have a remark from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Green, simply because it started on the Minister's Green portfolio. So it's more or less his project. And then you will have the executive producer give a little speech, and then they will have the viewing starts at 8 o'clock. So for persons who want to witness or have the red carpet experience, it's $50 for the ticket. However, it will open to the general public on the 8th of November. So it's going to be part
for how
of
long?
Caribbean Cinema movie schedule.
The regular schedule.
Regular schedule
right,
from
nice,
the 8th of November.
Nice. So what was the role of the government, since you mentioned Minister Green, that it was under his watch? What role did the government play in ensuring that this film could be done here? Because I noticed it features some really, just a snippet I saw, I recognized a few places.
Well, first of all, they have to, have permission from the government to do this sort of project here.
Okay.
So first we met with Minister Michael, who was then the Minister of Tourism. And after we met with him, then he put us on to Minister Green, who then was the Minister of Culture.
Right.
And we went through everything with him. And after we did that, then we met with Mr. Colin James, CEO of Tourism Authority, to ask him what we can do for the country as a gift, for allowing them to come here and shoot the movie. And also Minister Green's office was the doctor's office in the movie.
Oh
yes.
Okay. All right. That's up at the stadium?
Yes.
Okay.
Up at the stadium.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. And also, from the Nigerian actors that were coming here, in order for them to come into the country, they need a visa. So again, the government played a role in assisting with getting the visas, for them into the country.
We need visas from Africa?
Yes, from Nigeria.
Nigeria alone, or just?
I'm not sure, but I know for Nigeria they need.
Interesting.
Yes.
Oh, I never realized that.
And they actually cannot leave Nigeria unless they have a visa for Antigua. So even though they're coming via USA or via UK, they must have a visa from Antigua in order to leave Nigeria.
Okay, interesting. All right, so Omar, tell us a bit more about how was this experience for you in terms of participating in this film?
Wonderful. It reminds me of the Swiss Mango. When I did the Swiss Mango back in 2001, it just brought back.
He always has some girl story, right?
I know.
I'm just saying. All right, go ahead.
It was great. A great experience. Everybody got along so well. It was like I said, just thinking back, like the Swiss Mango. It was like a family kind of thing in terms of filming and spending time. Well, we spent a lot of time there, obviously, because hours and hours of shooting.
How many weeks were we there? Or we made sure we got this pretty tight?
About two.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
About
2 weeks, yeah.
That's good.
And then they did a week to do the shots for Antigua.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and so yeah, everything, it was nice. I enjoyed it immensely. It was a really good experience. I'm very proud to be a part of this. Big time, very proud to be.
Did you get to keep the girl at the end?
No.
He gets to see her one more time.
No, this time around, I don't get to keep the girl.
Jamila, we're going to watch this one together. See the latest exploits. That's the first girl. That's you got to keep. So, I mean, what do you think, Omar, in terms of this film, setting us on the international scene in terms of especially being seen as a location for more projects just such as these? What do you think this will do for us?
I think, I mean, the quality, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, this is the first time working with Nigerians. I mean, and they are so particular. They like dot their T's and cross. I mean, dot their I's, cross their T's, with regards to the production and the way they worked. I think it's going to be amazing for Antigua because like I said, the quality is excellent. They're serious. And Nigeria is like one of the biggest film industries in the world.
Yes, that is true.
So they're coming with all that experience and all that know-how. And I mean, I've learned a few things, I must say, from this experience.
And for example,
with regards to, the way they do shots and stuff, and they're very particular, what they want and how they want it done, and they have a very good eye of, I just think they're just, and they move quickly too. They want to be, they're efficient yet very, they thorough, but they move, I find they're, with the filming, from what I understand in Nigeria, I mean, because they finish films like quickly, like they films after film after film. That's how it is.
They seem to have a lot of movies
going on. So with that, I mean, I saw I saw a little bit of that here when we did that, with regards to the filming and doing scenes and moving on to the next one, and at the same time moving quickly, but at the same time getting it done right. I mean, just.
So basically, time was money, and we were going to get this done.
That's right, and we have to, and with the best of our ability. That's right. Yes, basically, yes. That's what I saw, and it was great. It was.
So, how were you recruited?
I actually, yes, I auditioned.
Oh, okay.
I met. Yes, I was. I got a phone call, and I was asked to come and meet the producers and the director. And one day, one afternoon, I just went to them and I introduced myself, and we spoke for a little bit. I think it was for about 10-15 minutes. I spoke. I just spent about 15 minutes with them, having a conversation with them, and and of course, they knew about the sweetest mango and stuff like that.
Just start to call you Antigua's lover boy. Go ahead.
And then and then since then, that was it. A few days later, I got the word, and that was it for me. Basically, just those 15 minutes. So yeah, it was. I think they just, it was just to
confirm what they were probably told already.
Yes, basically, that's right. So,
Ms. Shepherd, you said you were the on-the-ground island coordinator. What did that involve?
Involve for setting up all the appointments with the government officials here. When the team get to Antigua, it involves me taking them around, getting all the cast here in Antigua together for audition. I had to meet with a lot of different people in charge to say this is what also when they came to Antigua like in February 1st to speak with the government and to sort out the different areas in terms of where they want to have the shots. So I had to go around like a tour guide.
Okay. Yeah.
So driving them around the country, showing them
one beauty spot after the other.
I have an idea because he has been here several times, but others know. So I have to be showing them all the different sites in Antigua. And trust me, from the time they got off the plane, I want to shoot you. I said, no, wait till you see over there. I want to. So it was like every spot, they wanted to shoot all over. And they were so amazed that Antigua is just surrounded by water. And another thing that they find, they love it. Actually, they want to come back and do another project because, number one, not only the island is beautiful, but they find that the people are very warm and friendly. And we're so, they say, for instance, like in Nigeria, you can't just go up to a minister and speak to him like that because there's so many security. So they find
you all know that we special like that. That has nothing to do with a small island. That is an Antigua thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
everybody's so warm and friendly. Because, for instance, Robin here would invited them at his home, and when they got there, they were like,
"Hope Robin and cat people never run on good now."
Oh, he showed them his good.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, and he was there so relaxed in his shorts without his shirt, and, and they're intermingling. When they leave, they say, Vanessa, you sure he's a minister? I said, yes, he is. They asked me, where are the securities? I said, what security?
Vanessa, darling, I have been to other small countries, one or two smaller than Antigua, and I would see the politicians and I would see security and I'd be like, what? What y'all need security for? So trust me, we are very special and I hope we can keep that for a long time, because that is one of the, I think, the uniqueness about us.
About Antigua.
That's right.
It is true.
Yeah. That's right.
About how many persons were part of the crew that came in?
The crew, let me see. You had 3 producers that came, the director. You have, let me see, that's
Camera
crew was about four camera crew that came in.
Okay.
Yeah. And then on the second trip around was the same amount of people again that came in. And the lead actress, Daniela, she came as well.
And how does she feel about Antigua?
Oh, she
not
loved
asking
it from
her
day
about
one.
This is her.
She loved it from day one, and she's so anxious to get back.
So she'll be here for the premiere?
Yes, she will be here.
Okay, all right.
So that's what I was saying. You get to see her one more time, live and direct.
All right. So we between both of you, I just want to get a feel. I mean, I'm listening and I'm very excited in terms of the prospects, because if we have broken into the Nigerian market, if this film does well here, and I'm sure they're carrying it home as well.
Oh yes, they'll be premiering in Nigeria after Antigua, and then after.
Why are you going to Nigeria?
I don't know yet. Maybe,
possibly. You need a press attache. I'm available. I'm just letting you know.
No problem.
If you need a press attache, I'm available.
No problem.
If you need a press person from Antigua, I'll do everything.
I love that.
But no, seriously, I think this is a wonderful opportunity for us.
I think so too.
I hope that our people will come out. I know you probably have a pretty good guest list already of the invited guests, but I'm hoping it will be colored with those of us, regular John and Jane Does, who can come in. You all Antiguans love session, right? Session people, $50. Get you to the premiere and dress up, and you know we love a dress up.
Of course, it's a red carpet.
It's an
event.
opportunity to put on your danda. Oh, jeez, wait. I just realized I have to find clothes. Maybe I need to resend this press attache thing. Because I have to get dollop to. The press people have to dollop to, and so.
Yeah, you don't want dollop?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right.
You never know. Maybe there might be a producer watching you, and you might be the next Daniela. Think about it.
Me can't hack them kind of things there, so I only have the gift of gab from a distance.
Okay.
When I come close up, I get shy. Notice I do radio, do the TV. Yeah, right.
And
right.
just for the public to know that the movie already won 3 awards thus far. Yes, they won. Daniela won Best Actress in. They had an award in April in Las Vegas, the Black Film Festival Awards.
Okay.
And we were nominated for 3 awards that night, and we won the Best Actress award.
Oh, nice.
They also won an award for the most committed service in entertainment services, the executive producers, because they were so committed to the movie.
Okay.
So that was an award that they won in Los Angeles. And then they won another award also in Nollywood in Los Angeles again for Best Featured Film.
Nice.
So we're getting, and it's not even out there much in the public yet.
So these were at film festivals?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Yes. So the idea is now, of course, it will show in Antigua for a while. It will go to their homeland in Nigeria.
And it's going to go to Los Angeles as well.
Okay. And
Las Vegas.
Do you know if they have any plans to maybe take it to the other Caribbean islands? I know Trinidad is a big film crowd. Jamaica, they have their regional film festivals and so.
We're thinking about doing it through Caribbean cinemas.
Oh, okay, that'll be great.
So we're in dialogue with them for that.
All right. Okay, that sounds like a very, very, very good prospect.
We want to spread Antigua. We want to spread the word about Antigua.
I mean, I'm just looking at these sceneries. Allow me, Jupiter. We're gonna continue the film. I just wanna, because I'd stopped it so we could have the conversation.
No problem.
I want us to finish watching it now, so that persons can see.
never ever. Thank you for bringing.
Oh my God, the children playing.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying it looks.
She
Ladies
was-
and
that was-
gentlemen.
she was cured.
Ladies and
She was
gentlemen, for
cured.
those of you who didn't see the end of the ad, especially those of us on radio, you know, they had a nice visit around Antigua, and clearly she was having a good time. And Mr. Winston seemed to have done. I don't know if the doctor sentenced her to other things besides the sun and the sea. But it appears to me as if somehow she looked cured, because he's putting her on the. You are putting her on the plane and not going with her, right?
I am putting her on the plane,
Oh,
and
okay.
yes,
And you-
She's. I'm.
He's going back to her husband.
She's gone back.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So you cured her. I am. It's not that I'm speechless. I'm just right thinking of the right question to ask after that, because I want how you find these roles.
They find him.
They find me. Yes, they find me. They find me. You know, I know. Interesting. It's interesting. But you know, when they told me about it, I was like, you know, I was excited. I was excited about it. I mean, you know, like you said, I don't get the girl. I don't get the girl this time. It's totally different from the sweetest mango.
Okay, all right.
Whereas where I'm walking off into the sunset
With the girl.
With the girl.
Mm.
It's not like that in this case.
Okay.
You know, she leaves me to go back to her. You know.
Well, she came for the cure. She got
came
a
for
cure.
the cure, and she got the cure, and that was it. And then, so she was good. She left, and
Maybe they
And
should
I was-
have a part two.
well, I don't know. Maybe there might be a part two.
what happens.
You know, see what happens.
One of the things that I'm gonna speak it into being, that I'm hopeful for coming out of this. You know, you play a movie and you get seen, and then you get selected to play another part and play another part. I'm speaking it into being for Omar that when this movie goes back on the international scene, that the Antigua's lover boy will just have another role out there waiting for him. I'm speaking it into being, Omar. I'm speaking it.
That's right.
All right, because I mean, I think this probably is a good platform for us to. I mean, we had the sweetest mango, we had the skin. No, we had the sweetest mango, we had no seed, we had the skin, and then we had Noel Howell and them.
Yeah,
did working girl, yes. And then we've had what's his name that owns the restaurant next to Kirshner. Kirshner also did some work. And then we've had our young people who have been dabbling in there. And we're due that other big thing that reminds the world that Antigua is here and ready to play our part, even if it's just that we can be the place that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, our beaches, you can call it anything. We don't mind. You can make it Timbuktu. We don't care. Just come film, bring your money, bring your people, and invest in our economy. I think for me that is what I like. The movie. I like the movie, but then to know that we had people on the ground who had to eat, who had to utilize our goods and services and our people. I think that's what I look for.
Mm-hmm. And it was 3 visits that they did that year.
You see, and it's 3 times.
They were here in February for a week. Then they came in, I think it was March, April there, for another 2.5 weeks. And then they came back again close to Carnival.
So when exactly was this filmed?
Last year.
Last year for Carnival? Because I'm looking at the song I realized, hold on, they're in Carnival too.
Yeah.
Actually, that
was Panorama.
Yeah, I realized, So I was
Last
like,
year, yes.
I was like, what? I'm like, okay, so we got a good feature.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So you took a Carnival too?
And when they were here the first time was during sailing week.
Oh, so they experienced it all. So you
And
know
they
they need
got
to
some
come back and do
lovely
another
shots
movie.
for-
Yeah,
they
but they
got
need to
some
come.
lovely shots
But they need to
for,
come and do a movie now
for
during
tourism.
sailing week. So again, like I said, I like it. How long is the movie? You know, any idea?
Hour and a half, close to around that.
Okay,
Hour and a
alright.
half, hour and
Omar, have
40
you seen it as
something
yet?
like that.
I have not seen it in its entirety. No,
Okay.
me personally, no, I haven't.
So you're looking forward.
I'm looking forward to actually going to the premiere and actually seeing the entire movie for the first time.
And taking along the family and everybody just being very out by this. Yes. Yeah, man. Cool. So you see, Antigans, even if it's, we go only to support, we have five, right? Five persons in the movie. I mean, we have to go and see the awesome work that they do. We get to see Antigua on screen again. I was watching Third World Cup the other day. This is a Jamaican movie. You've seen
Yes,
the Jamaican
I've
movie,
seen
right? And I'm watching. I'm like, there's something familiar about this movie. I couldn't remember what it was because I hadn't seen it for years. And then when he said, you know, I'm going to send the guy to Antigua, I'm like, yes! That was the moment when they were watching it and everybody went, yes!
Antigua.
You know, that is the word. And now we get our whole movie that features us from, no, not from, but I mean, we get a pretty prominent role and a lot of our sceneries. I saw Sandra's in there that's behind Castaways.
Yes.
I only remember that because I got kidnapped Sunday to that beach, but that's a whole other story. It's not, this is just in passing.
Long time they're shooting.
We're at Sandra down on the beach.
time, yes.
Yeah, man. That beach would probably inspire people to forget their lines and want to be in the water.
They want to jump in. That's right.
Yeah.
A whole day.
Yeah. So I know apart from the 5 Antigans in the film, how many other characters are there roughly? Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. You have others that play other Antigans that are in there, but it's just like just for audience.
Okay, like a
for
walk on or
instance,
just
you're going into the
background.
doctor's office, you have an audience in the lobby sitting down waiting.
Okay, fair
you
enough.
know, so you have others that play like the audience role.
Okay, but no, I'm talking about like the other. So we know we have Daniela as one of the main characters. I'm assuming her husband featured somewhere in there, even if for
Her
a
husband
little
mostly
bit.
featured in Nigeria.
Okay, right. And then you would have the doctor over there that
Yes.
that failed, and the doctor here that
But
prescribed.
you have a doctor also in Las Vegas.
Oh yes, because she went to the
Las
okay,
Vegas
okay.
before coming to Antigua.
And then you have the doctor here that prescribed. Prescribed. Yes, audience, you're silent because they just prescribed. I guess we will go and see what the prescription was and how it worked.
And how it works.
Yes, and what was the end result of the medicine? Remember, we were just talking about pesticides and chemical awareness before. I hope it was not chemical.
No,
hope it was all natural.
No, natural.
Oh, natural.
Everything natural.
Yeah.
Everything natural.
I'm sorry, I don't get to tease Omar often. He has no clue that I'm so fascinated by him, his voice and everything, you know?
Wow.
All right.
So you're coming on Saturday to, you have to take pictures with him on the carpet then.
But I have to dress up. No, you see, I'm going to be like in the background
No,
if I
man.
come, because the
Background.
yeah, I'm not red carpet material.
All of us are red carpet
Oh,
material.
you hang when Omar put on his 3-piece and that button-up thing, and he just throw on the jackets and just done the
Just
place.
put on your gown.
I don't have them kind of clothes. I just
Wear
dress up.
anything and
thing.
nice it up.
Yeah, anyway, we will see. So you say it's November the 3rd. Saturday, November the 3rd. It forms a part of our independence schedule.
Yes, it does.
And if you'd permit me, just to remind our audience, I'm just going to remind them of my favorite things. So I begin with and end with November the 3rd. Saturday, the 3rd November, is the premiere of the film Loving Daniela at Caribbean Cinemas at 7:30 p.m. It features a lot about us and a lot of our scenery, and a lot of our local actors and actresses form a part of this movie, and we're all invited to come out and support the red carpet event. And for those of you who haven't, you know what, let's not put it that way. It's $50, and it gets you into the red carpet. You get access to the cocktails, the red carpet, you get photography, you get all of the nice things that go along with like a Hollywood-styled gala event. Right, and then we have on Monday the 29th of October, it's National Junior Panorama at just a reminder folks, it's at the ARG. It's coming back to town. It begins at 5, And just so that you remember, town people in the city that do business, Wednesday the 31st of October, it's National Youth Rally at the Antigua Recreation Grounds. We are going to be on a gridlock for the day. Don't act surprised. You know the youth will be marching through the city, which means we'll be under gridlock. Be reminded. And Thursday the 1st, I hope our guests, our Nigerian friends, will be on the ground by Thursday the 1st.
Yes, they will be.
And Daniela, we need to take her up to the food fair on the 1st of November. That will be the Independent Ceremonial Parade. That will be at the Antigua Recreation Grounds. Recreation Grounds is back in action. And then they go up to because I'm going to the food fair, go up to the Independence Food Fair at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. And that brings me right back again to reminding the public that on the 3rd of November, Saturday, at 7:30 p.m., you said you'd like them to start arriving from about 7?
No, 6:30.
6:30?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
remember we have the cocktail.
So
and the
ladies and
movie's gonna
gentlemen,
starts at 8 o'clock.
so from 6:30, you pay $50 and you have access to cocktails. You get to mix and mingle with the stars of the film, Loving Daniela. And you get to be treated in red carpet style. You know, we don't get these occasions very often. And so please come out and enjoy. I will invite both Omar and Vanessa to just give us some parting words in terms of encouraging our listening audience and viewing, because you're on Facebook Live, by the way.
Really?
Yes, you have been on Facebook Live. Yes.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Antigua and Barbuda for allowing my my friends from Nigeria to come to our beautiful islands and shoot Loving Daniela. It was a lovely experience for me, even though it was hard work. And I also like to invite the general public to come out on the 3rd of November for the premiere. If you want to have that celebrity red carpet event, it's going to be $50. For tickets, you can call me at 764-2775. That's 764-2775. Or you can wait until the 8th of November for the general schedule at Caribbean Cinemas.
There you go. And Mr. Antigua's lover boy?
Yes, she said. Well, I would, yes, okay, I'll take that title. I would just like to, of course, invite once again the general public. This is a wonderful, wonderful project that we're about to premiere, of course. Come on out, of course, on the 3rd of November, if not, well, and of course the general showing will be from the 8th of November as well, so you'll have lots of opportunities to see it. It's a great project, great movie coming out. Big up for Antigua all the way. Hope to see you there.
All right. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank our guests, Mr. Omar Matherin.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And Miss Vanessa Shepherd for gracing me with their presence and sharing a bit with us on this newest film, which includes Antigua and a lot of beautiful things about us and our people. And of course, we are solving health problems in a way that only we can do it.
Thank you for having us.
I'd like to thank them very much, and I look forward to the premiere. I'm coming.
Okay. Oh, good. Good.
I'm coming. I don't know about the red carpet photographs, but I am coming. Remember, I told you you have to have makeup and nice frock. And sorry, this is independent season. You have to have makeup. You have to have your dan. Your auntie and dress up ting and all of that.
You don't have to put on too much makeup.
Too much.
You don't even have to put on any makeup.
Exactly, and then I'm gonna come down and stand up next to him. Huh? What you want to do? Pale, put him pale. Anyways. Thank you very much for coming, and all the best, and I look forward to hearing great things.
Thank you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you can go now. Thank you very much. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Our second guests this afternoon were from the film Loving Daniela. Hold on there. I just realized something. Oma, don't go too far. I don't get to get a picture. Don't go too far. I mean, wrap up. I just want to very briefly. No, you can. I'll come just now. He wants to stay with me. Next thing I get into trouble. Yes. So I want to thank our three guests this afternoon. We had Dr. Christian, and then we had Mr. Omar Matherin and Miss Vanessa Shepherd. And today we just looked at two very opposing subjects. We looked at the whole issue of pesticides awareness and the use of chemicals in Antigua and Barbuda, and a very interesting discussion on an oft little heard of agency in Antigua and Barbuda, the Analytical Services Unit in the Chemistry and Food Technology Division at Dunbar's. And then, of course, we discussed Loving Daniela. So I just want to remind us all of the independence activities that are going on, our 37th anniversary. Get your national dress and participate in the various events that are before us. And of course, we know that women's cricket is going on, and all the teams are here in Antigua now. They're practicing at the Liberta Cricket Club grounds. You can go out there and see them anytime. And of course, I have to tell you about my weekend activities, because on Saturday, you can look for me at the Moravian Food Fair. You know, Moravian always have their Independence Food Fair, very, very wholesome, very family-oriented event. And on Sunday, I go and get myself in trouble. I go try a thing. I go in Dadly Day Fete. You know, the young people thing. Not going dressed up as the young people do. I'm going to go admire them, but I'm going to have some fun. You know, step out my box a little bit and enjoy myself and have some fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I'd like to thank you for listening. And tune in. I think next week we'll probably have a recording, because I won't be available next week. So I'm just letting you know. I think next week, in fact, we will review that interview with the Team Antigua Atlantic Rowers, because they are leaving on the 31st of October to England for a month for their final leg of preparations before they start their mission to bring home that trophy as our first all-black, all-female Antiguan team in that transatlantic row. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish us a safe independence, a safe season, and to just look out for each other on the roads, look out for each other in the community, be kind to one another. Let's keep the positive vibes going. And on that note, this is Petra Williams signing out from We Are the Ones. Have a good evening.